Welcome, I'm Catherine Magana here with Steve Wolf, Greg Carroll, and Vince Stefano. We're going to continue our conversation and discussion on artificial intelligence. Today we want to share a little bit about benefits, trends, and the future of AI. So there's been a lot of hype and discussion about this. We hear there's robots, self-driving cars, and obviously as we learn more and more, we're learning more how it is affecting our everyday lives. And so I thought I'd start off with a couple kind of benefits of artificial intelligence. One is it's supposed to have a reduction in human error. So obviously having some of these systems in place, and they're saying that obviously humans have more errors than some of these technologies. And then also the 24/7 availability. So us humans, we work and then we go home and we have some entertainment or spend time with family or some other activities. But some of the AI, they're available to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah, and no vacations, and no sick days.
Right?
Love it.
I think Steve's going to want to fire us and have AI just working around the clock.
Don't give me any ideas. Well, we've talked a little bit in the last 2 weeks about AI, where it is right now, some of the applications, some of the companies. But what we really want to do today is say, what are maybe some of the trends over the next 5 or 10 years? And I was reading something by Bernard Marr, who seems to be an expert in this particular field. And he was talking about a book called The Coming Wave by Mustafa Suleyman. And in the book, it says that every wave of technology-driven change, from the combustion engine to the internet, has revolutionized society in a shorter time span than the previous wave. So whatever is going to happen here, it's going to happen much faster than it did before. We're not going to have to wait 30 or 40 years for artificial intelligence to take over. It's probably going to be in the next 5 to 10 years. The other thing is that there's a quest for artificial general intelligence, which is kind of almost like human-like beings. And that's kind of the holy grail amongst AI developers. And basically it means that strong AIs that are capable of learning to do any job simply by being told what to do rather than how to do it. And that's going to be a big change from what we have now. Where you can just go up to, again, to me it's like Star Trek or the Jetsons or something, and you go up to the computer and say, computer, what should we do now? And they're going to give you ideas. It's not going to just be how to do things. It's going to be, they're going to learn, and they're going to learn on the job.
Yeah, I think that the efficiencies that AI is going to help us with, just the mass amount of data that is going to be required to come up with some of these new technologies. If you think about even like green energy and clean water, and the power that we're going to need to run all these computers, because these new computers are much more powerful. They create a lot more energy or heat, and they require more energy to run them. How are we going to produce all that energy? I mean, we can't just build the old coal-fired plants, and apparently we aren't allowed to do nuclear here. Maybe they figure out a safer way to do that.
Right. Well, it seems like nuclear is having a comeback. There are actually plants in the planning stage here in the U.S. that haven't been there for a long time. There's no way that solar and wind are going to be able to do this. Just no way.
The wind's not always blowing, and the
sun's not always shining.
It's not always out. Yeah.
Exactly. It's not to say that those can't be part of the system, but it won't be all the system. The existing grid that we have right now is not capable of handling all the electricity needs that we're going to have. I mean, it's one of the reasons I think currently that the EV companies are having an issue. People are saying, what happens like in the cold weather that happened during this winter here, where all the EVs stopped working?
Well, then you also think about recycling. What does this look like when you put all these in place? What does that component look like in the future? Because yes, we want to put all these batteries and devices in place, but how are we going to recycle this, and how is it going to affect the climate later?
Exactly.
Well, and that's why Elon Musk is doing space travel. We're going to send all the batteries to Mars or something. It won't be here. And, that's not all that far-fetched.
Yeah.
That could actually happen.
Yeah, Steve, you had mentioned something about, the speed at which this is all going to happen. And I was reading something in Forbes, and they were talking about AI and personalization. and how quickly companies are now offering users more personalized experience when it comes to individual needs and how they can cater to e-commerce needs. AI is analyzing user behavior and preferences faster than anyone can imagine. And so these platforms are now coming up and they're appealing to specific users and specific searches so that they know your history. It's a great way to boost customer satisfaction and loyalty. And that's, I think, where AI in the retail space and the consumer space is going to really have a huge impact.
I think we talked about this before, but when you all of a sudden have an idea or you need something and you mention it, and the next thing you know, you see all these ads. Well, it was interesting. Recently, Jocelyn was looking for a retainer cleaner. And next thing you know, everywhere I look, I have these retainer cleaners ads everywhere. And I was like, I didn't even mention it or bring it up. And he had bought one. And I was just like, oh my goodness. So it's interesting. It's not just what you're looking for. It's the people around you.
That's interesting.
Well, and artificial intelligence might be able to predict what you might be looking for, not just because you went on and looked for something.
Yeah.
And I think it also brings up a problem. Okay, and that's the problem of privacy.
Yeah.
Okay, and we talked a little bit about this last week, but I think we're almost going to have to say that privacy is a thing of the past because the computers are going to have every bit of information on us and then some. Mm-hmm. Okay, so how do you keep that? How can you go anywhere without a digital footprint? You almost can't do it now. Mm-hmm. There was a show that I saw on TV one time that a person tried to get away from being detected as if they were a criminal, and there was almost no way. In the future, it's going to be even harder. And then I think about China, which is using AI, I think, in a nefarious way, and that is giving people social credits. So if you don't do what the state wants, then you don't get the new job or anything else. Of course, that's part of communism versus hopefully we don't go that way. But still, I mean, it's people in government, when they want power, they'll use whatever's at hand.
Yeah, I was just thinking as you're talking about that, these AI computers and stuff are going to know everything about us more than we know about ourselves. But you know how we always forget things? Wouldn't it be really great just to have a little chip in your head and it's just kind of chirps at you a little bit?
I don't want a chip in my head. No, I mean,
it's coming, Vince.
There are things I want to forget.
I'll put a microchip in my dog, but not in my head.
But you know what? That's going to happen.
How about in your glasses?
I think that's going to happen. Again, going back to, I was reading this Bernard Marr, and he said that AI applied to neural interface technology of the type that's already being trialed in humans could, in theory, enhance our cognitive capabilities, making us better at learning, recalling information, and even making decisions. Advances in AI augmented prosthetics could give us mechanical limbs or exoskeletons, making us far stronger and more physically capable than we are today. Camera and optical implants could improve our vision and make a decline of eyesight in old age a thing of the past. These are happening already. Yeah. Okay, so, when you say you don't want a chip in your head, if you can't see and when you get older and you have a chip that can make you see, you say, I want that chip.
Well, maybe in a glasses, yes, but I don't know if I want it implanted in my head.
Well, but that's what it's going to be. As a matter of fact, wasn't there just an article about somebody who couldn't see just recently that I was reading, that they put something in and he now has vision? I can't remember where I read that, but I read that over the last maybe month ago.
So as you're talking about some of these items, I mean, they're really tied to the healthcare industry, and that's an area that has a big impact with artificial intelligence. I know in the past we shared, obviously, when you have surgeries, there's ways that AI can help. But it was what I also realized as kind of doing a little more research was that it's now helping fight cancer. So there's detecting cancer early. There was indications that somebody was having that had breast cancer. They were able to detect it a little bit early with some AI. And then also, it looks like there's some new drugs that are out there that they're testing with some AI, and so they're doing some additional research. And so I definitely think it's out there, it's coming. Originally, I was just thinking it's more of just surgeries and robots, but I definitely feel like they're really making an impact in the science area.
So I was reading another article by Michael Bennett, and he was saying, which industries will AI have a big impact on? And there's really 5 that he thinks it will have the biggest impact on over the next maybe 5 to 10 years. Education, healthcare, finance, law, and transportation. I mean, certainly transportation, we already know that's happening. It's coming. Soon we will not have drivers. You won't have to take a driver's test anymore or learn how to parallel park or any of those fun things.
Well, you already don't have to parallel park anymore. The car does it for you.
Exactly. In healthcare, you were just talking about. I mean, healthcare, to me, I think that healthcare is going to be the biggest beneficiary of AI. And we are going to be able, in my opinion, to wipe out diseases that we couldn't before because we'll have all this information about how to do that. And then robots that can be intuitive and figure out how to do it. And that's coming, and that's not too far away. And then you've got education. It's going to be transformative. Students are going to receive educational content and training tailored to their specific needs. And AI will determine optimal educational strategies based on a student's individual learning styles. And there's this one article said, by 2028, the education system could be barely recognizable. Now, for some people, we think that's a good thing. We want them to learn, how to read, write, and whatever, as opposed to some of the other things they're teaching them. But that's what's going to happen. And I think schools are going maybe a thing of the past because you're going to be doing everything via technology, via TV or some broadcast.
And as you're talking about education, there's also going to be more roles tied to AI in the training for, also the human aspect of how we're working with AI. So there's
more rules?
More rules, but also more opportunities for, if somebody was wanted to be an engineer, maybe they now want to be, do artificial intelligence, or there's more education and certifications out there with colleges, obviously to handle some of this demand.
My son is just talking to his counselor at school. He's a computer science major, and he was having this discussion that he is probably going to change to, I forget the term, something about data science, though, instead of computer science, more on the data side and what you need to learn and to be able to work with some of these computers and things. So it's already changing, in real time. And so I thought that was interesting, and we'll learn more about it as he progresses. But yeah, it's changing.
Well, where AI, where it looks to generate content and it learns patterns and structures, a lot of the industries that are very creative industries are going to be a huge beneficiary of what AI does, and a lot of that is healthcare, a lot of that is education. It's going to have a big impact on those industries because of the way that it learns and how you do structure it. So yeah, I think healthcare will be one of the biggest recipients of AI.
Right, and by probably within 10 years, it would be reasonable to think that mechanical companions will be all around us, and these collaborative robots are going to be called cobots. So you'll probably be hearing that word, cobots, and because they will have moved out of the industrial setting and into our homes, into our offices, and that type of in public spaces, and we're going to rely on them to do household chores. We talked about a little bit the Jetsons. Rosie the robot.
Sure,
it's going to happen. And we're going to put our lives in the robot's hands if you end up on the operating table, which is, again, already happening.
They're doing with Intuitive Surgical and a lot of that. But
exactly.
Hey, maybe get a robot pet and you never have to take it for a walk.
Right. And yeah, we're back.
That defeats the purpose. You're supposed to help you go exercise.
Clean litter box again for a cat.
Well, there you go. Right. That sounds like a bonus.
I think we talked about rags in the last one of these things. But anyway, but certainly the robots are going to do all types of manual work, deliveries, road repairs, construction. Interestingly, though, they might be able to play an important part in the aging population in caring for older people.
Oh, interesting.
Which could be another thing that happens over the next 10 years or so. So there are some good things that are going to happen. Now, you talk about AI in government is going to happen also. And again, we talked a little bit about this, the ethics of that, and that could be kind of scary, because none of us really like government very much anyway, and AI is going to be, this super being, I think.
Right. The transparency is a big issue when you get it at that level.
Well, but they're going, and they're going to use AI, I think, for things like, learning what the public wants and predicting what they might want or likely to want, and certainly with policing, using predictive technology to anticipate where crime is likely to occur and maybe even who is going to commit the crime. So, I mean, those are some good things, but then, you have the RoboCop thing, on the other side, and does it get out of hand? So there's a lot of ethical issues that are going to come down the pike over the next 10 years.
Didn't they make a movie about that once where they could predict who was going to commit a crime? And so then they would go and get them right before
it was a Tom Cruise movie.
Tom Cruise, I think you're right. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it really was. I forgot the name of it, but you're
So
right.
as you're sharing some of these examples, what comes to mind is, obviously now we have the Ring and we have cameras and we have things that we're, slowly starting to be more aware of our surroundings. And now, once again, how, to integrate some of that technology with the AI or the robots or different things that you have. So I feel like we're definitely heading in that direction, especially when you have Siri and you ask her, play this music. And, between the videos and the audio, and it seems like the next thing is having actually somebody.
Well, they've already invented humanoids, which are like human-like robots. We're developing language that they can understand and interpret. So think about that for a minute. You're going to have robot or cobot companions, all right, and that really is going to change the way we look at relationships. It really is. I know that sounds
get attached to this thing.
Well, it sounds funny, but I think that's exactly what's going to happen.
Well, you think about owning animals or dogs, 30, 40, 50 years ago. Animals now are in homes. They're a big part of people's lives. I mean, we have a relationship. I think it's a lot different than it was many years ago.
And when you have a robot that can actually think,
yeah,
and I don't know about feel, but certainly think and predict and interacts with you every day, all of a sudden that becomes a companion.
but you're right. It's not going to have that emotional. They won't have that emotional component unless they get trained, I guess.
They could. I don't ever say
I don't
never.
know.
I don't know.
But that is just an extension of what our phone does today. You get in your cars. Okay, it's 7 minutes to home.
Yeah.
Oh, I got an appointment in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
The weather is this in your area. I mean, my phone is telling me so many things that I don't even ask it now.
Yeah.
And so I could see these robots just being an extension of that, but also doing some of your tasks for you.
Well, in an article that I was reading, they were talking about the long-term dangers of AI. And let me just read. It says, the notion that AI poses an existential risk to humans has existed almost as long as the concept of AI itself. But in the last 2 years, as generative AI has become a hot topic of public discussion and debate, fear of AI has taken on newer undertones. And arguably, the most realistic form of this AI anxiety is a fear of human societies losing control to AI-enabled systems. So anybody read was it 2001, Space Odyssey?
Yeah.
And Hal took over. He took over the spaceship.
It's very easy for that to
Terminator,
happen.
same thing.
Right.
The machines decided the enemy was the human,
Right.
and they eliminated
I
them.
mean, obviously, there'll have to be some kind of, human override that you can put on AI. I mean, what worries me more than anything is what the government's going to do with all the AI information. I mean, it's bad enough now you walk into an airport and, they're taking facial recognition pictures of you to make sure that you're not on a terror watch list and other things, which is, I think that's good, but, again, where does the information go? And that's what people will be worried about. And, there will be hearings in Congress about AI and privacy and transparency, and it will go on and on and on.
Right. And of course, the way government works, it'll take 10 years to figure out the problems of today, and then 10 years from now, there'll be other problems.
Yeah.
So they're usually working on problems of the past, not the present. So, and I think we all pretty much are coming to the same conclusion that AI is a good thing, in many cases a great thing, but it also has some risks to it. And I think that the ethics behind it are something that we're really going to have to work out. Otherwise, we will find ourselves in a totalitarian society, which is not anything, of course, that I want. I'm sure that most people don't.
Well, it's interesting because I think, some of the technology and things that are happening, I don't think we really realized it until, all of a sudden you start looking back, like you said, Greg, the weather, I'm getting told everything, and then all of a sudden you realize, wow, I didn't realize how, everybody knows everything about me. And so you really take a step back and really think about all the technology and AI that's out there that's really, being used right in place.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's in place, yeah.
All right. Well, let's hope that the future is bright and not bleak, based on AI. and many other things involved. So thank you for everybody around here. It's been 3 weeks worth of talking about AI, and we hope that all of you who are listening to this are learning something. I know this has been a learning experience for me, and I think for all of us. So we'll see you next week. Thanks for listening.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please stay tuned for important regulatory disclosures. WWM Financial is an SEC-registered investment advisor. The opinions expressed in this program are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual or on any specific security. It is only intended to provide education about the financial industry and how we may be able to assist. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult your financial advisor prior to investing. Any past performance discussed during this program is no guarantee of future results. As always, please remember, investing involves risk and possible loss of principal capital. Tax considerations presented may not be appropriate for every individual circumstance. A tax professional should be consulted before making any decisions about your tax liability.